3.8.7 point E can be met. Significant adverse impacts to the natural environment will be mitigated to the maximum extent practical. The Colorado Department of Parks and Wildlife and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service were sent copies of the application to review. Fish and Wildlife and Parks and Wildlife have also been to the site and did inspections of the site. We did get comments from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife concerning the yellow-billed cuckoo, the type of riparian habitat with cottonwood trees and a canopy like that may be habitat for the cuckoo. So the applicant has been in discussion with Fish and Wildlife about what they're doing to the site, and Fish and Wildlife expressed that they don't want generators to be used in the RV area. They suggested the RV area be moved, but because of the concern for generators, but since the applicant will have electrical hookups and it will be posted that no generators can be used on site, generator noise won't be an issue.
I'd like to point out something, if I might, Madam Chair. So,
oh, you're going to beat me to it. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I remember a meeting with U.S. Fish and Wildlife where they said, don't worry, we're not going to touch private property. We don't need, you ought to read this letter. I mean, well, of course you've read this letter, but it's like, I don't like them commenting on this or us inviting them. And if I was the applicant, I would certainly advise the applicant to go see legal counsel about the implications if one of these surveys, which they very politely ask the applicant in a process where they have the most leverage on the applicant, if they can come in ahead of development and do surveys. Mm-hmm. If they find one iota of that yellow cuckoo thing in there, the value of this property could go to zero, in my opinion. I mean, and they said that repeatedly to us, and here we are asking them as if they're entitled. I guess they're entitled to give their opinion, but they certainly, they kind of act, I mean, what they're starting to do is get their fingers in this process on private property, and this is the beginning of what we're going to see every time somebody on private property where they don't have a nexus, although I still debate if they put a conservation easement on there, they're going to create a federal nexus. Now we're letting them kind of get into this on our private property. It wasn't 2-3 months ago. They promised us they wouldn't have any impact on private property, and this is very worrisome to me. Anyway,
so you beat me to it because I was going to say exactly the same thing, although my favorite line is on page 46, where it says, if there's a likelihood that more development will occur along the Colorado or Gunnison rivers or other streams suitable for yellow-billed cuckoo or suitable for cuckoo habitat, we encourage Mesa County to enter a programmatic habitat conservation plan to enable projects to move forward while protecting the yellow-billed cuckoo. So what that means is that anytime somebody wants to do a development that's really good for economic development, regardless of whether there's a federal nexus or not, that we should be spending millions of dollars to come up with a habitat conservation plan in order to allow our citizens to develop their property for economic development. That is extremely concerning to me. The impacts on both the potential applicant and on the county in this letter is so alarming to me. And I also like the first paragraph where it says it doesn't meet the criteria for no take. However, not all projects that fall outside this criteria will necessarily result in take. I read that 4 times to figure out, is it a take? Is it not a take? Are they saying it could be a take? And they kind of contradict themselves in this letter and the previous letter. But I agree, Commissioner McGinnis, this is very concerning. Commissioner Justman.
The other thing is, I did not see any cottonwood trees on these pictures. That's their habitat, isn't it? In the trees and the bushes, but it doesn't look like there's habitat there, but yet they want to have some say or take it over or whatever.
I thought I saw some in here. They recommend the planting of native cottonwood, willow, and other plants to help the yellow-billed cuckoo.
They're inviting the yellow-billed cuckoo on this private property. And I don't think my guess would be, and I'm hoping maybe an applicant's here today, I don't think they have any idea of what happens if they themselves do what they're recommending, produce this for the yellow cuckoo. It's not like putting out a robin's nest or a hummingbird, hang a hummingbird feeder out there. And I also, I really, our purpose here is to extend to the agencies, fire department, bridge, parks, et cetera, et cetera. They assured us that this is not going to impact private property, and I'm inclined, I'm not sure why we reach out to them. Because this is exactly what we ourselves are inviting. And you can see they use the words in addition. Second paragraph. However, we don't think the proposed development quite reaches. What is that? What do you mean, quite? So the next development is, well, it's there, just barely. That's exactly how this foot gets in the door. And we've had many, many meetings discussing the implications of whether we need gravel in this community. They want that entire, I mean, this is very complicated. And I was doing great with this application until I saw this thing, and I'm going, boy.
Well, I think that regardless of where we go on the application, this is just one in the many issues we're going to have to deal with. And if this application goes through, I feel bad for the applicant for having to deal with Fish and Wildlife. All right. That's a lot of discussion on yellow-billed cuckoo.